Hello, everybody online. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for being in the room with us. We got a couple joining us in the room as well. And thank you for allowing the pivot. Today was supposed to be just a general base meeting where we talk about everything, but after, let's say, the disaster that was a few weeks ago, the team here thought we needed to discuss what happened, what APFA is doing, what a flight attendant should be doing to protect themselves, and kind of what are we going to do next time, right? What can you do next time to leave yourself in a better situation? Because we know there were flight attendants that were in really horrible situations, sleeping on planes, floors, on hold for 12 hours, no sleep, no food. We understand it was terrible. So we want to kind of give you the tools to make it a little bit better for yourself next time, even if the company doesn't do it. We'll start by saying that the company said 2 days before this storm, we're ready. We've got the plan in place. We're good. When the storm hits, we'll be fine. What happened? Storm hit, and everything became disastrous. This is a man-made disaster. This is a company-made disaster. Today, this morning, I don't know if you've all seen in your email, the APFA Board of Directors unanimously voted to issue a no confidence vote for Robert Isom, obviously the CEO of American Airlines. APFA said it's enough. Robert doesn't apparently know how to run a successful airline or lead an operation that can get flights out on time or flights out at all. So the APFA has said that the Board of Directors of American Airlines Group needs to step up and do what they should have done a long time ago and let him go and find a CEO that can make this a prosperous airline that we want to serve. So we did put out a press release. If you don't sign up for the APFA hotline, so it's a good thing to do. We send out lots of important information. I send out a couple of briefs a month, so it's good to always have. Next. Obviously, I'm Nick Bader, the Vice President. We've got Alba Toledo in the back of the room. She's your Vice President. And we have Tim Lagueros, one of our Base Council representatives. John Radiker, a Base Council representative. We've got Laura Briez. She's a Base Council representative, and she does a lot of our technology. So Laura's put this presentation together because God knows I can't. Online, we have Todd Spitala. He's a Base Council representative. He also works with technology at APFA. And we also online have Kelly Hagan. She was a negotiator and she's a member of the Contract Implementation Committee. So she's going to have some conversations later about pays and hotel delay, all that good stuff. So like I said, we focused this because we believe that this is a priority. Flight attendants are probably owed a lot of money. That's, we love money. I don't know. I love money. Everybody. We do this job for money, right? So if you're owed something, we want to tell you how to get it. And so you can recognize if you're owed it. And if you don't get it, what you should do. And also, like I said, tell you what to do next time. Next. And you guys jump in at any point, please. Don't make this 1 minute show. Next time. We were ready. Right? The company said they were ready. They said, we've got plenty of people. We've just trained a bunch of crew schedulers. They're out there. We just put on, I think it was like 18 crew schedulers in the last 2 weeks. Good to go. No problems. We got hotel limo with our new vendor. Tracking is ready. Everything's ready to go. And didn't happen. Right. Next. So that's what prompted the effective management issue, right? Because it starts at the top. Robert knew it was happening. Bobby knew it was happening. IOC knew it was happening. The moment the storm hit, what happened? The system fell apart. Crews were on hold. We have screenshots. Crews were on hold 12 hours, 13 hours. We had crew members who said they were afraid to fall asleep, sleeping on the airplane because they were afraid if they fell asleep, they'd answer the phone and have to start the queue all over again. So we have documented hundreds of failures of the company. So I don't know if anybody knows. So the company has, it's called the recovery tool. So when you have a cancellation, they push a button and the tool goes in there and says, fix, right? Put them on this flight. It'll catch them up here. Everything happens automatically. The system is designed to work like that. The system is designed for 20 flights, 30 flights. We were putting in thousands of cancellations. Well, just like a person, when you hand them something with 1,000 cancellations, what are they going to do? Throw it up in the air and say, I'm not doing this. Well, that's what the computer does. So the company has a system they know is not designed to handle the types of failures that occur. Thousands of cancellations, we have to have a system that can rebuild a sequence in a timely manner, not 2, 3, 4 days later. We're getting emails. I got one just yesterday from crew tracking that said, oh, the crew is back home. Everything is good. That was the 8th. This occurred in January. So that's how far behind they are. We're still getting emails that they're working through emails we sent them 2 weeks ago. The challenge was faced by crews. You said you were out there in Boston. How long were you in Boston?
I was there about a day.
A day,
Yeah.
More than you should have been?
Yeah, but
What
I
did you-
found my own way home, and I slept at a friend's house.
But did they make sure your hotel was safe? Did the hotel threaten to kick you out?
No, I
No?
never got one.
Oh, you never got, see, you
I
just
went to a
left.
friend's house. Yes,
See, that's what happens. Like we said, 12 hours. But like you said, you left.
Yeah.
You went to a friend's house. You
I
took
went to a
matters into your own
friend's
hands.
house. Yes,
So you're entitled to something, right? We can talk about that later, but that's the issue. People finally said enough is enough. I've got to be safe. I've got to have somewhere to sleep. I've got to find food, a shower, right? Probably been in those clothes 25 hours, 26 hours. And that's the failures that American Airlines doesn't understand.
The pilots went to the same thing that we did, like
Some did.
run.
Some pilots did, right? We have reports that some crews standing together, pilots answered the call on the phone, 2 minutes later, they had a room.
Yeah.
Right? We have some reports where pilots sat with flight attendants and the phone was on hold and hold and hold. We also have some where the pilot called and said, that's great, I'm not leaving until you book these flight attendants' rooms. Right? Good on those pilots. They knew they had rooms, they could have left. The crew could have been at the airport, pilots warm into bed. But they said, we are not leaving and we are not being released until you get this crew rooms. What happened? Crew got rooms. So we know there's a disconnect. We also know that the pilots are bound by very strict FARs, right? So they have, where we are not, they have very strict rest, duty requirements that we don't have. So, and they're pilots.
Yeah, but
Right.
we don't fly, they don't fly.
Right, 28,000 of us.
Yeah.
They can find us, that's easy, right? We're replaceable, right? The company believes they're not. So that's where we have to get to how can they get through? But on flight attendant. If the pilot trackers are over there doing nothing, answer the flight attendant calls.
And they have their own hotel.
And they have, like, the pilots have everything, scheduling, tracking, hotel, everything is separate. But the question is, if they're over there doing nothing, why can't they just answer phones and say, sure, here's a hotel. We're gonna lay you over and fix that sequence, right? They can't fix them all, but why can't they fix the one they answer? So we're having a lot of dialogue with the company. The company has agreed to give us more information than they normally do, especially more like direct connects, denials, things like that. And this open dialogue is going back and forth because now it's public, right? Before, we didn't really publicize it all, right? We kept it to ourselves. We said, hey, let's just settle it. Let's just get everybody fixed. Now, we have the no confidence vote. We're out there saying, flight attendants are sleeping on the floor. Now we have the COO saying, nope, that didn't happen. With the CEO going, yo, no, it did happen. But guess what? That's the name of the game. That's the job. They knew going into it that they would be sleeping on the floor, is pretty much what Robert said.
I've been here 34 years. I never saw that happen.
yeah.
So they're out of touch with reality, with what actually goes on in the day-to-day operation with American Airlines. They just don't understand. So we had flight attendants, went home, right? Went to a friend's house. Didn't know what they were doing. 3 days later, they get a phone call. Oh, by the way, we're putting you back on your trip. What trip? Do you even know where I am? They're like, yeah, you're in Miami. No, I'm stuck in the hotel in Dallas. I didn't make it to Miami. So it was just a complete and utter failure. Next slide, Todd. So what did we do? What did APFA do? So I will say, I was a little, I believed them, right? They said, we're under control. I said, okay, trust but verify. So I trusted them. It was very quickly early on, it was Saturday, 2 or 3 hours after the works had started. And I said, dude, I verified you have completely gone off the rails. So Alvin and I got together and Tim was on. We called John and one of our other base council reps, Greg, and I said, I don't know what you're doing, but you're no longer doing whatever you're doing. Get on the phones. Let's answer phone calls. Let's answer our text messages. Let's go through emails. Let's get flight attendants where they need to be. Let's get flight attendants hotels. Let's get them out of the airports, off airports. So we began working around the clock from Saturday through Wednesday. Thursday morning is when it finally started to receive, but through Wednesday. The company stopped taking our phone calls at about 5 p.m. on Sunday. So between Saturday and 5 p.m. on Sunday, we could call the senior on duty, we could call tracking, we could call hotel limo, say, hey, we've got this problem, fix it. Sunday at 5 o'clock, dead silence. It would ring 3 times and the phone would automatically hang up. They wouldn't even take our phone calls. We resorted to emails. Again, we're still getting email responses back that we were sending. I resorted to calling the manager of crew scheduling on her cell phone. She answered, but she would answer and handle one problem at a time. But guess what? There are 10 other bases. They're all calling her on her cell phone too.
And to be clear, we, at the union reps, we can't book hotel rooms. We can't fix schedules. We're not schedulers. We don't have access to fix a sequence, right? So when you're calling us and you're asking us, what do we do? What we can do is try to contact the company, right? But then they stop taking our calls. It's not like we have a direct line to get through ahead of everybody else. I mean, we do have some way to get schedulers on duty, like the seniors. But if they stop answering the phone, which is what happened, that's when we have to resort to case by case, trying to like send an email to blast it to people. And that's pretty much what it ended up happening, but it was one person at a time, one case at a time. So you can see the illustration.
And we were, obviously, when things started to get bad, I was in communication with the other base presidents. We had Julie, the national president. We had Larry. Everyone was working around the clock. We had Marty and Jeff, our contract and scheduling chairs, all their representatives. You know, they opened live chat. We were doing whatever we could to get flight attendants somewhere, some answers to their questions. I think we handled it pretty well, right? We did what we could. Granted, there was a lot of times our response had to be, do what you need to do for you, right? You have to take care of you. The company obviously isn't. You know, if you got to book your own hotel, if you got to go to a friend's house, if you non-rev on another airline that somehow didn't, you know, fall apart, right? Take care of yourself. Not the answer we want to give, but like Tim said, we couldn't book the hotel. I wish I could. We'd all been staying at the Ritz all weekend. Because I'd have booked my own room and we'd been at the spot. We've been doing. So just know that APFA, Monday morning, we were on a call with all the base presidents, the board of directors. What are we going to do? Got on the phone with the company and they said, we're doing the best we can. Next slide, Todd. So on an average week in 6 days, we do about 1,300. This is just text messages, these numbers. We do about 1,300 text messages. In 5 days, we did 4,103 text messages. That's the flight attendants. That's scheduling, hotels, that's all. We sent, I couldn't even count the emails because there's 6 email boxes, hundreds of emails, hundreds of hours on the phone, just trying to get results. And you still see what happened. We couldn't.
Yeah.
It was, and we had a message between us. We were defeated because it was time after time. I can't get through. They can't get through. Unfortunately, the message is take care of yourself. Do what you need to do. And that should not be what happens when you aren't working. It's not, nobody goes to work and their manager looks at me and goes, I don't know what to tell you. The place is burning down, but you got to stay and work. You got to stay. Put a smile on your face. Sell the car, right? I mean, that's not the way it works. But the company didn't have a plan B. They didn't know what to do next. Next slide. So once it was all said and done, I put my frustrations on paper. I sent out a hotline last Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere around there, after I filed a base notice of dispute. My base notice of dispute was so long, it didn't even fit on the form that we're required to put it on. So I had to send another piece of paper with it. It detailed all the company communications that said, we're ready, we're prepared, all their failures. It details, and it had 15 different things I wanted the company to do, right? Pay protection. Everyone should be pay protected, whether it was your last series, last sequence or not. This is, wasn't your fault, wasn't anyone's fault, pay protection. If you got a mistrip or a late report, you need to excuse them. You take them off the record. If you're on reserve, your guarantee should not be reduced, right? A reserve, this is not a reserve's fault. Nothing they could have done. If you were issued a PO, because we did get flight attendants that had POs, those should not be chargeable. Those should not count against your 2 POs. Or if you've already used POs, they shouldn't be anymore. The incentive days, right? They paid 2 incentive days. I'm asking for incentive days from the first day of the storm all the way until January 31st. I think the company owes incentive pay for every flight worked by a crew member for that entire period. Why not? If I was out there working, you guys deserve the incentive pay. And we're gathering those documents. So with those nods, with any nod, right, we have to have documentation. So we're gathering screenshots from people, we're gathering sequences, we're gathering hold times, we're gathering all the information. IROPS reports from APFA, putting them all together. I think the last number I heard, I could be wrong, was like 300, around 300 IROPS reports through the APFA website. That's super important. That's how we're gathering the data. And that's how we're able to check off everybody to make sure that their issue has been resolved.
So let's think about that. 300 reports have been sent for flight attendants.
In Miami, for just Miami.
Right, we got 300 flight attendants, right? So chances are way more than 300 people were disrupted, right? During IROPS and had experiences. But the only way we can hear about it is if you file that report. So that's the data collection tool. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes. But if you can take the time on the website, fill out what your experience was, hold times for delays, hold times for crew scheduling, sitting in an airport, whatever. Put it in that form because that's one thing. Compensation parts, the filing for claims, that's a separate that he's gonna talk about later, but 300, I mean, there should be from the volume of people that we've helped. There should be way more. So it's really
I haven't
important.
filed anything.
So, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
So,
Next slide. If you guys have questions, just stop me. Promise.
I've heard from a colleague yesterday that Southwest was offering 5 times incentive pay. 5 times incentive pay for the flight attendants to come to work.
And we sell flight attendants who wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
I will say, if I was supposed to, I probably wouldn't be there for 5 times. It
Yeah.
wasn't worth it.
And that was the answer that they gave this flight attendants. Says, no, I stay home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've had a lot of contract violations. We had issues with being rescheduled outside the footprint. We had issues with hotel delay. We had issues with not being rescheduled within the 3 to 4 hours after a disruption. We've sit rig, VE, being forced to extend without, being asked. The list goes on. And I think we have a slide that has 15 or 16 contract violation issues. And again, the only way we resolve those is with documentation, with those forms. Once we have them, we have a whole team at APFA that they're digging through everything they can to find out exactly what should have happened. That way, when we go to the company to request the remedy, pay, and fixing of the systems, we have all the evidence we need. So you said you haven't done it. If you would please do it, that'd be fantastic. It makes it very easy for us to do. Next slide. So it's so easy. You don't even have to sign in to do it. So when you go to the website, the very top right says forms, IROP form. Like I said, you don't even have to have your login. You can do it without your login. Just fill out the information, upload as many screenshots as you want. If you got 50 screenshots, upload them all, we get them all. It is, during I think it was last May, we had a big IROPS. We received a couple thousand IROP forms and we were able to resolve 90% of them without having to file the formal mod process because we were able to collect the data, go to the company, and they realized they made mistakes and made the corrections, right? So that's, it's very important. Next slide. We kind of talked about this. What do we do now? It's review the hotline. We'll go to the next slide, Todd. We kind of made it really easy. If you want to review the hotline, we put a QR code on the screen. So you can scan the QR code with your phone. It's going to bring you to that hotline. And it's going to explain to you exactly how to file and where to file for what to file. So if you had let's say you got your own hotel room, right? That's a different form than if you got sit reg issue. So it explains it step by step exactly where to go and how to file. And this is where we start. What type of violations, right? Lodging, transportation. You never got a hotel. We know it's a violation. Rescheduling, delays, and errors. Did you ever even get rescheduled?
I did.
Eventually.
Eventually, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was probably outside of the 3 or 4 hours,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
it was like 11 hours later.
Did they notify you?
They did, but
Okay. Did they,
ACF.
yeah, that's it. Do they communicate well?
no.
So I mean, you had the majority of these, right? I guarantee most flight attendants have had the majority of these. Next slide. Another list, right? Last sequence of the month violations. They were rescheduling with your last sequence, last series. There's very strict rescheduling, right? Especially prior to signing in. So they were violating those left and right, but they wouldn't answer the phone for you to tell them that was a violation. So the flight attendant either took a missed trip because they knew it was a violation and didn't do it, or they went and worked a sequence that was illegal. Improper splits. So they just decide we're gonna take you off, put you on wherever we want. The VE or V3. So we have flight attendants who out there that were on duty 22 hours, but the company didn't contact them and say, hey, do you want a VE? Well, now the V3s, everybody know what V3 is?
Yeah.
So remember, so in the new CBA, once you do so many hours of VE, the final hour, now once you hit those over 17 hours?
Maximum is 4 hours.
So at 4 hours, after 3 hours, right? Then you're gonna get 300%. Okay. 300%
To pay for the duty.
pay for the duty, other than the 150. So you go from 150 to 300. So super important if you're on duty 22 hours, you want your V3. That's 300%. And if you're flying on an incentive day, it's another 100%. You got to get your money. Huh?
200.
200.
Nick, we
200.
have a related question as well.
Go ahead.
We have a related question here from the chat. They're wondering, is there a set time frame of when flight attendants can file these disruption reports?
Obviously, we want them filed as soon as possible. Once we're out, so we have 20 days by contract to file a notice of disagreement. The way we work with that is as long as we are in discussion with the company to settle these, and that's by filing direct connects. By filling out the form, if you have expense on Concur, that your timeline's still going. So obviously, the earlier you can get us the information, the faster we can start that conversation. So we may not have to file a nod, but the soonest we can, the better. Obviously, if you haven't done it, you can still do it. If you have an issue, a pay claim, please file a direct connect immediately. That way they can work on it. Today is closeout for the month of January, so anything approved after today won't make it on your February 15th paycheck. It'll either go on your next check or you'll get a special check, but it's very important to file as soon as possible. We had a lot of reserves that were flown into their flex days or golden days. It's the end of the month, right? So if you had golden days at the end of the month, working up at those days, I can't. Shouldn't be worked into that. Weren't given an option. So, there's a penalty for that, right? They have to pay extra for working in the golden days, but it also they lose their days off. Location delay incentive for those of you who are stuck getting to an IPD location. You got to make sure that you get your LE pay. It's more money. So these aren't even tagging, anybody know what tagging is? We had a huge issue with this. So tagging, if I'm a line holder, my sequence is a 1-2-1. I'm coming in from Boston on the last day. The company can't do anything with, I can't land in Miami and somebody come to me and say, hey, you're gonna go do a San Juan turn. That's tagging. The company cannot do it. You're not a reserve. That's for reserve. Reserve flight attendants, they can. But if you're a line holder and the company attempts to do that, please reach out to us. We want to get that fixed because the company for a while thought they could do whatever they want. Once you were on the plane, they could send you anywhere they want. They realize they can't, but they still attempt tag line holders. We saw that a lot during this IROPS. I was like, oh, you're a warm body. You're where we need you. Now you're going to go here. And unfortunately, a lot of people did it, right? So that's a violation. You're owed crew scheduling error for that violation because they shouldn't have done it. Next slide. Does everybody know how to find their managers? We get that question 20 times a week. So in crew portal, right, if you're on the computer, you'll click your name. If you're on your phone, it's just a little person silhouette, and they'll give you your managers. So your senior crew manager, that's your operations level manager. If you have issues with pay claims, if you have questions about an operational issue, catering, anything like that, that goes to your senior crew manager. If you have questions about your attendance, obviously it goes to your attendance manager, and performance, your performance manager. Why do we need 3 managers? I don't know. I guess 2 wasn't enough because 1 wasn't enough. And if they reach out to you, just remember, you always have the right to union representation in any conversation or meeting. You can always say, hey, I'll be more than happy to talk to you once you set a meeting with the union rep. I'll stress here, it's not on my slide, but they're nice, they're friendly, but you also have to remember their management. Their job is to manage you, and anything you say to them on duty or off duty, they're required to act upon. So if you tell them something that's a violation of company policy as you're talking to a friend, they're required to report that to the company and take action on it. So please be very cautious about what you're telling your manager, even if you're really friendly with them. We don't want you to get in trouble just thinking you were having that friendly conversation. We've seen it, unfortunately. So just protect yourself because they are management 24/7. I mentioned this already, but I believe all missed trips, late reports should be removed. PO should be not chargeable. And the reserve flight attendants whose guarantee was reduced should have that guarantee restored. Next slide. I just start talking and things come out of my mouth sometimes. The documentation, as we talked about, is critical, right? So this is kind of your steps of how you resolve things. The first 2 go hand in hand. If you have an IROP situation that has a pay claim or anything, fill out the direct connect for that pay claim. SITRIC, BE, hotel delay. It's really important though, if you have multiple scenarios, let's say you have a hotel, you have a SITRIC, and you got a BE, you have to file 3 direct connects. If you put them all together, the company, again, is gonna go throw it up in the air and go, too many things. You have to file them each individually. And each crew member needs to file their own. So if you're a crew of 4 and you all have a hotel delay issue, every crew member should file the hotel delay incentive direct connect. At the same time, do the IROPS report. That gives that data to APFA, so we can also work on it with the company, find out where the failure occurred and how we can make it not occur in the future.
And also, if you did get your own hotel room, like say you stayed at a friend's house, so you never got a hotel, or you paid for your own hotel room, which is your actual option, and they never contacted you for the hotel, all that, you still are due the hotel delay, right? So even though you put in for the reimbursement for the hotel, or whatever, you're still eligible for that delay instead. Right? So,
Question.
So I was in Baltimore, I had to turn around. We got to Baltimore and we did not have the carpet. We ended up, the 3 of us sleeping at the MOT because there was no hotel. We tried to pay for the hotel and they said they had no room available. So we went out spending the whole night and they never contacted us. We were in the fund for maybe over 3-4 hours. And we were not able to reach them until the next morning around 9 o'clock in the morning.
So you're entitled to a lot, right? You're entitled to that hotel delay.
And, they were at the night.
Yeah, and they probably haven't replied to it yet. So the hotel delays are slow. There's a very small team of people who work on it, and they have to do all the research to find out when your trip disrupted, when it was fixed, when the hotel was, so it takes quite a bit of legwork. So be patient with it, unfortunately. But sit rig, right? You were between flights. So you were due sit rig from the time you got in until you were notified of what you were doing, right? You were due that.
Yeah.
And you didn't get a hotel. So what I would ask you to do with that, if you didn't get a hotel, that's not going to be covered in the direct connect because there's no contractual penalty for not receiving a hotel other than the delay. However, I would say on the website under forms, fill out the not request form. Let us know that you didn't get a hotel because we will file a notice of dispute over that because that we can work on getting a remedy outside the hotel delay incentive because it wasn't delayed. You just didn't get it. So we might be able to get a little bit more on top of the hotel delay. I'm not about arguing anything. You can ask these people. I will argue until I'm blue in the face and 6 feet under. So file it. Let me argue. I like arguing. I'm always said I should be an attorney, but here we are as flight attendant. So let me argue. Please file it.
Also the failure to notify you of the seats repaired,
Yep.
right?
That's true scheduling error.
Scheduling error, so with that, you have to file that separately. Sit rate, you have to file that separately as well. And then that hotel delay that you already did.
And when we're done here, we'll probably have time. We can work kind of individually and kind of go over your individual instances and kind of help you out. If you get a direct, we call them direct denials. Oh, it got changed. We call them direct denials because the company's first button they push is denied, denied, right? The first contact should be your senior crew manager. That should be your first contact. You should be able to call them or email them and say, I got denied. This is wrong. I need you to fix it. They should say, okay, let me look into it. If they don't, or if they come back and say the denial stands, reach out to us, right? That's when we'll pick it up. So the company needs to fix their own problems. Company's responsible for providing you support and guidance. That's what your senior crew manager is there for, right? When the company put this program in, their line was, these managers are meeting flight attendants where they are. Whatever that means. But that was their line, right, when they created this. Also, if you need help filing a direct connect, they should be the ones helping you do that. If you need help with anything, PBS, TTS, UBL, that's all your senior crew manager. They are trained subject matter experts at all of those departments.
Make them work,
So we've been told.
make them work.
Yes.
So this hotel delay payment is based on the duty day or the sequence?
Depending on how long it is.
Okay,
So if it's more than an hour, so you have, and Kelly, you can jump in if I get this wrong, or Tim. You have a disruption, right? Your flight cancels. The company, an hour later, fixes your sequence. Now your time starts for your hotel delay. So if they get you a hotel within an hour, there's no penalty. If it's 1 hour and 1 minute, then you're going to get 150% of the duty period. So just like it's like red flag for that duty period, it's the same. If it's more than 3 hours, then you're going to get 150% for your entire sequence. So it's all the time. It's all the timeline. And that's what takes so long, right? Because they have to research every step of where every step goes. Now the company has said during this direct connect and for these issues with the storm, they're not going to be denying as many. They will be very strict on what they do deny. We'll see. We don't believe it. We've seen a lot of denials so far. But if you get that denial, senior crew manager and then APFA. And then I get to do what I love to do and argue with them. So,
Okay.
Next slide.
Can I add to that? When you do contact your crew manager, at that point, go ahead and email them. We like to create paper trails, right? Phone calls, you're gonna get frustrated because most likely they're not gonna answer because that's what we've seen. So I just recommend you just go on, do the email, you have a paper trail with a timestamp. And then if you want, go ahead and CC us into that same email. That way we're all on the same thread. And then you don't have to go back and forth and, oh, now I have to do this. just create it all from the beginning and just let's create the long thread, and that just helps you, helps us, and then it's easier to then get a resolution much faster.
Okay,
Just a little heads up. Thank you.
So you're gonna hear a lot of this over and over again. I believe in repetition, because I think that's the way I remember things, right? Reading, document, report, follow up. Super important. And that's everything, right? You file a SIRS, you document it, right? You report it, you follow up. ASAPs, it's all kind of the same. File the claim even if it feels obvious. If you say, hey, the company should know that I get sit rig, don't think they know. Just file it anyway. Because they could come back and say, hey, it's already added on there. But if you don't file it, it's not going to get added, then you're not going to get it. So file it even if it's obvious. Keep your documentation. So even if you submit those screenshots, don't delete them, just in case something happens in all the electronic translations between departments and bases until because I may call you and say, do you have that screenshot? Like, delete it. I didn't get that one. And again, if you receive a direct denial, submit an IROPS form or the nod request form, either one, after going to your senior career. Next slide. So you're not reserve, but for reserves, reserve last series, last sequence is now in effect. So if you find yourself back on reserve, if the last part of your month is days off and you've got no more reserve obligation and you pick up a trip on your golden days or flex, the golden days since at the end of the month, and you have a disruption, that's covered just as a line holder would be under last series, last sequence. However, the computer isn't catching it. So if you're on reserve and that happens, make sure you file that direct connect because you're owed the same thing a line holder would be. And reserves who are flown into golden days, all the time past midnight on your golden day. So we have flight attendant flight on this last one, she flew 2 days in her golden day. I think she ended up getting paid like 21 hours on her golden days because of her duty time. It was a nightmare. It all went into her pay no credit. So it's all going above her guarantee. Some of them want it in their reserve call out of time because they want to be done. They want to be, I'm done. Unfortunately, the contract says it does go above your guarantee on your pay no credit. Incentive pay. If you picked up a trip for incentive pay, showed up to the airport, it canceled, you got call out pay, the incentive pay will pay on that call out pay. Similar to holiday pay, right? So if you didn't fly the trip, but you got the 3-hour call out, you're going to get that 3 hours of incentive pay as well. Again, got to get our money. Next slide. So we're kind of going over as we go, but any questions? Todd, did we get any more online?
Everything's been answered from online so far. Mm-hmm.
Any more questions in here? Okay. So we have, like I said, we have Kelly from the Contract Implementation Committee, the KIC. In the next slide, she has a scenario that is going to show you, it's an unrepaired sequence that never triggers failed continuity. So, you know, when you have a cancellation, it says failed continuity. And until that goes away, you know, they haven't even looked at you. It didn't trigger the failed continuity, but it generates crew scheduling error pay, hotel delay pay, and sit rig pay. So Kelly's going to walk us through that example. She's got screenshots and everything to kind of show you how the system pays you when you file those direct connects and get it done right. Take it away, Kelly.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Okay, we can go to the next slide if you don't mind. So this is the HI3 of the sequence as it was happening that day. This is a Dallas sequence. This was in a storm previous to the ones that we just experienced. And theirs was unique in that it fell apart in base. So they were able to operate the Tulsa turn, they get back to Dallas, and then the overnight canceled. However, the Montrose turn the following day did not cancel. So now they need a hotel in base, right? So if we go to the next slide, we'll see how all the events got triggered. The flight canceled at 2023. The flight attendant received an ECS notification of this cancellation. Because the cancellation did not provide open legs within the sequence, That is why it did not trigger a failed continuity on the FA side, because it was just the layover that canceled in its entirety. So it could still operate as it was standing. So once the flight attendant received the cancellation and kind of saw what was happening with the weather that day, on the next slide, you can see where they initiated a hotel request because they're in base and they're entitled for that. Even though it wasn't technically triggering a failed continuity, crew tracking still has to send over a hotel request to the hotel desk for them to book it. Because the hotel desk had never received that, they could never operate this ticket that was submitted. So the flight attendant has been hanging out there waiting for this hotel this whole time. The hotel department finally completed the hotel request after midnight, which was well after the time, which is now triggering eligibility for the hotel delay. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to see where the flight attendant submitted that. So they went ahead and filled out the individual direct connect ticket for their situation. FYI, the other flight attendants on the sequence filled out the same direct connects as well. But this flight attendant filled out the individual one, stated my flight canceled. You did not get me a hotel with this in this time frame. I'm eligible for this. It was paid, which is validated with their pay statement that you can see with the hotel delay with the red arrow. And we can go to the next slide. It was a little difficult in getting the release time on this sequence repaired because this wasn't end of the month. It was going into closeout. For the flight attendant to validate that they had modified the release time, they were able to do that through going through crew portal, through the links, and pull up the crew sequence history. When we pulled that up, we were able to see that the release time was modified. This was very important for this sequence because that additional almost 8 hours, that's a lot of duty rig in there. And that is tied to all these different pay components. Also, go ahead.
It was a sneeze.
Oh. Also, the reason that release time is so crucial is because that crew was supposed to work to El Paso to the layover. So that was their second flight, which would bookend their sit rig. Because that flight canceled, that does not mean that they're no longer eligible for sit rig. They are eligible for sit rig up until the release time of that duty period. So because of that later release period, it will generate more sit rig. And we can go to the next slide. The crew's still waiting for that notification of all of that happened many, many months ago. So they were never notified of anything within this sequence. So for that reason, they went ahead and filed a claim for crew scheduling errors because they were not notified of the repair within the 3 hours of the disruption. Because they had originated, that was their obligation. So they each filed the individual direct connect tickets on that and were paid crew scheduling errors for the sequence as well, which you can see validated through their pay statement. And the next slide was the pay claim for the sit rig that we talked about. So while this was a bear of a trip to have to slog through, at least they were compensated in many more aspects than we were before to get through this grief. And are there any questions on that?
Can you hold this slide, Kelly, just because this is a good one to show when you were talking about the release time. So remember, see how she's got the corrected release time to the 8:30. So this crew, oh, go back.
I'm gonna go back to the one where it's right and wrong.
Okay.
So there it's right, and then on the other side it's wrong.
Yeah, so here, that's the corrected time, the 8:31, right? So they had a turn that they worked, right? They landed at 11:50. Actual, right? So the sit rig goes from block in until
Release.
the next flight. But in this case, the next flight canceled. So this is gonna go from block-in until the release time, right? So if this number right here was 6 hours earlier, that's not capturing the full ground time of what it was. So once it's corrected to the 8:31, now you've got from 11:50 to 8, that's almost like 8 hours.
It generated 3 hours and 5 minutes of sit break.
Because anything over 2.5 hours, that's where the money is. 1 minute of sit break for every 2 minutes of the sit over 2.5. So this time is really important. The other thing that I think you said, Kelly, but just in case they're not aware, the hotels don't get, a request for a hotel doesn't get sent to the hotel department until the sequence is repaired. So if you're calling the hotel desk and say, hey, I see my sequence failed continuity, where's my hotel? They're not even gonna start working on it until the sequence is repaired. Once it's repaired, then they shoot over the message to the hotel desk saying, okay, we need the hotel, which adds to the problem, right? Because you've got people calling saying, I need hotels, sequences aren't repaired yet. But just so you know, the process thing has to be repaired first, then it goes to the hotel desk. But this is a really good slide because if you look at your HI3 from your sequence that was disrupted back during the storm, if this doesn't represent what you actually did, like if there's a layover missing or you laid over at base and it's not showing, or the release times aren't right, sign and release for each duty period, that needs to be corrected. So it's got to be brought to the attention of crew scheduling, tracking, to us, because this is really important. Because this is what, if this is wrong, you're going to be paid wrong. And if you file a claim, they're going to look at this.
And to add to that, Tim, I know something that I saw working cases through this is flight attendants were reporting for things that and the day may have canceled and a RPT was not triggering for that day, which means no duty rig was triggering for that day or any of your legalities for 7 days. So you really have to monitor that to make sure that what you did is accurately depicted.
So, have you guys gone on the APFA website since we redesigned it? It is, I spend majority of my day on it. It was redesigned for usability in mind. I don't know if you remember the last website, you could click for days and probably never find what you were looking for. But this has been designed to, if it's a question about rescheduling pay protection, right, that's on the job. It's gonna be an on the job. Anything that you're gonna need on your day-to-day is gonna be an on the job, right? Legalities, safety and security. Then we have a whole thing for reserves. Then there's a whole section on pay. There's a whole guide to what, if you don't know how to read your paycheck, right? So if you have time on a sit, you know, or at home, peruse the APFA website. It's full of great information. And if you have a question, it's really easy on the job to say, can crew scheduling do this to me? Look it up, right? Legalities, rescheduling, and it's all right there. The team that put this together, I think, did a fantastic job in making sure that something was usable and mobile friendly. That's, I think, also important, right? This works really well on your mobile device. Next slide. So anytime we know there's going to be a weather event, Marty and Jeff, our contract and scheduling chair, you've probably seen the email 500 times because they send it out all the time. The rescheduling reminders email. It's going to tell you exactly what crew scheduling can do, what they can't do, and what your requirements are. Specifically, an important one for me, it really is that 3 and 4 hours, right? After disruption, the company's got 3 hours from the disruption, 4 hours from sign in to correct that. Right, outside of that, as Kelly mentioned, it's crew scheduling error. That's money. I can get paid for that. So it's a really important email to always have on hand during something that's not normal. You can pull it up and go, can the company do this? Just scroll through that email back. Nope, they cannot. And then when you talk to the scheduler, it'll even tell you the contract citation. Say, hey, according to the contract in 10J, whatever it is, right? You can't do this. And then they'll go, well, and most of the time they'll correct it. If they don't correct it, right, reach out to us. I'll call and I'll argue with them. I did it yesterday for 20 minutes and it felt great. So important email to have, great document. And like I said, anytime we know there's IROPS, you're going to see that email in your folder. So If you look back and by rescheduling reminders, you probably have it 25 times already. But stable. Yes.
I don't want anybody stressing out about having to take pictures and whatnot. I think I share the recording
Mhm.
from that and the actual presentation so that everybody can reference.
So the recording of this meeting and the presentation will be on the Miami base page. You can see our last town hall, you'll be able to see this one, and we'll have that there. And also, if you don't get the emails or you don't remember seeing an email, any hotline, any base brief that I send out is also listed on that Miami page. So you can go back and see through all of them. They're all there, so you don't ever have to try to find them in your email. Next slide. This isn't over, right? Like I said, I filed that base nod. We have hundreds of people filing their IROPS form. We're gonna have one more hopefully today. We got plenty of people filling out their direct connects. So meetings with management have been scheduled. They've been rescheduled. We continually have meetings with them about this. Discussions are continuing because we want to hold them accountable. They agreed to a contract and they're required to meet it just as we are, right? They expect us to follow the contract. The company also has a requirement to make sure that contract is followed. And if what they currently run through their technology doesn't do that, well, then the company has a requirement to upgrade that technology. Don't agree to something you don't intend to do, right? So that's how we hold them accountable, is by filing those nods, filing those grievances, and forcing them to upgrade a system to account for 28,000 flight attendants. Your voice matters. Obviously, you guys are here. Fantastic, right? Filling out those forms, going out there, telling the other flight attendants what you learned. That's also important. When a flight attendant learns something and they pass it on, it's like a good game of telephone, right? It just gets out there. You tell one crew, right? They go to the next room and say, hey, somebody showed me this, let me show it to you. And then all of a sudden we've got it out there. Knowledge of the contract is important. Should have a little bit more on that here in a few minutes. We also, because this was supposed to be the general town hall, we did reschedule that. March 10th is going to be our general base town hall. And that's where we're gonna talk everything, bid sheets, performance managers, attendance managers. We're gonna go through everything that's not the storm, because hopefully by then we can forget the IROP so we can move on to something, I won't say more fun, because it's probably not fun. So March 10th, same place, the Tuesday, same times. And we'll be able to address your other concerns. We did get a couple questions and for the storm meeting that we will carry over to the next meeting. That way we can answer those in that forum. This meeting, we didn't hold this meeting knowing we were going to come in here and solve the world's or American Airlines problems today. We wanted to give a forum to have your questions answered, to tell you what happened, what we did, what the company didn't do, and what we're going to do going forward and how you can help yourselves in the next one. We know there's going to be a next one. It's not like we're going to say, hey, I'm not the company. I'm not going to say this will never happen again, right? And I'm sure you've heard it from 5 managers already. This will never happen again. It will. What can we do to prepare ourselves? So if you have questions, even if nothing's going on, that's what we're here for. Call us, text us, email us your questions, and say, hey, I was thinking about in the next IROPS, what if X happens, right? We'll tell you exactly how that should go and what you need to do. We're here for you, right? We're flight attendants. We want to make sure that you have the tools to tell the company when they're wrong and know when they're wrong, right? We got to know when they're wrong before we can tell them. Next slide.
Nick, we have a few questions coming in the chat.
Okay.
The first is, Nick, how confident are you and the company leaders, and that the company leaders will actually be willing to accept or approve all or any of the additional compensation, the remedy sought, proposed by APFA leaders?
A tough question, because after, what we see in the current leadership, confidence is low. Obviously, we issued a unanimous no confidence vote in the CEO today. The company, we know that the company has admitted to failures to us. Did they do it publicly? No. But they have admitted to failures. They know there were failures. To the extent that they're going to agree to everything we ask for, I wish. But realistically, I think we're gonna meet somewhere in the middle. We're going to try to get all the pay claims, then we're gonna work on the technology side. So my hope is that we get 100% of what we want, but realistically, I know that that's not probably gonna happen. So I hope to get 75% of what we're asking for, and the other 25%, hopefully in the future, right? But we gotta make sure, one, everybody's compensated fairly for the issues that occurred. Management knows they failed, which they do. Management has a actual plan that they bring to every flight attendant to say, this was the failure, this was the correction, and this is the outcome. Management's never done that in the 13 years I've been here. They always just say, we'll fix it. Show me what happened, show me what you did, and show me what's going to happen in the future. Because maybe I'll believe them then, because when they just come out and tell me and you, we fixed it, yet next winter, winter storms don't happen, that often, except every year, it'll happen again. Or the next hurricane, right? The next major hurricane, when everything goes to shambles, we'll have it again, right? That may be Miami only, because it affects Miami, but how many days does it take to come back from a hurricane? Not many. That's like perfection, right? We close down, we go through the hurricane, we damage assess, we open. Why does it take 6 days to go through a snowstorm? Right, bad snowstorm. But in a place that gets snow. It's like they didn't prepare to get snow in Dallas where it snows. So I'm hopeful that we get most of what we're asking. And that may require new management. We may not get it now. That may require management to change to get new objectives and new goals. And then we can make those things a reality.
Okay, and the next one is, prior to the arrival of Fern, was there any communication from APFA leaders to the company leaders to review or discuss the specific details of the company's action plan for Storm Fern?
I know a meeting took place, let's see, that happened Saturday. I was told a meeting took place on Thursday at AA headquarters, I believe it was in the IOC, with upper management and scheduling, tracking, hotel, with leadership and key chair scheduling contract at APFA. And their reply to all of it was, we are ready. We're prepared. That is what the company told us. They asked to see, and they said, don't worry about it, we're good. That was their reply.
Okay, and I think this is the last one now. What is going to be different from now on if and when another IROPS occurs? What are the local base reps doing so true change occurs?
I'm working with the board of directors. Well, I work with all the reps every day, right? We have been working through processes we can put into place that we can enact, right? I think obviously important is, a central communication hub, right? Because I'm working on something and Alva's working on something and they're on the same crew right now, we're using 2 resources for 1. So making sure that our communication is in one place to make sure we're all working as a team. If we're all working as individuals, it's never going to work. If I have to say something positive about management, it's Miami local management. Rory, I don't know if you've met Rory, he's the new director, he's been here 6 months, 7 months, around. Friday night, he was here till 2 a.m. Saturday night, he came in from home to work with managers to try, right? Management here hit the same roadblocks we hit. They couldn't even contact scheduling, tracking, and hotel limo. They stopped answering their calls. They definitely weren't answering our calls, they weren't answering their calls. Miami management was able to get a block of rooms here in Miami from passenger service. They went to passenger service and said, give us some of your rooms you have for passengers, we need them for flight attendants. The issue they were coming into, sequences weren't repaired, so they couldn't give the hotel because the sequence wasn't repaired. That stopped on Tuesday. Tuesday, finally, some person sitting in a chair in an office said, who cares? Obviously, the sequence isn't going to be repaired in a timely fashion. Just give them the hotel room. So finally, on Tuesday, they started just issuing hotel rooms. So Miami local management and local Miami APFA, I think we worked very well together to try and resolve as much as we could. There were some issues that came up, and if we called and made the call, they were on it, and normally within an hour, they came back and said, we've got whatever it is. Obviously, they weren't given the manpower or the resources to take care of 3,800 flight attendants. They were given resources to care for a minimum, because that's everything's done at headquarters. So finally, they just stepped in and said, we don't care. We've got to do this. Flight attendants were sleeping here in operations. Flight attendants slept on airplanes, and they knew that. When we call them and say, this crew's on an airplane sleeping, they'd get a hotel. This crew, but again, they weren't able and given the resources to help everyone. That's a failure again on the company. Not on Miami local, because they were doing everything they could. They had their own credit cards out, doing what they could. But there were no rooms. That's the other problem. The company knows IROPs are coming in. Why do we not start blocking large chunks of hotel rooms for crew members? The one that really drives me crazy is in Dallas. We have a huge hotel that we canceled CQ, and we knew that was a couple hundred flight attendants a day. Why did we not say, go to Skyview? We've got a hotel room, at least for a couple hundred. That takes the strain off a couple hundred flight attendants to get a hotel. It's those things that just make my mind just explode of, we have a huge hotel, put people in it. It's empty. Like, put people in it. So.
Okay, we have a raised hand from Kelly. Kelly, did you have a question, or were you just commenting on something? But you're live if you'd like to speak.
I just wanted to add to something that Nick had said about the local going ahead and booking hotel rooms. Because those were done manually, they were never put into the system, so they're not viewable through CCI, FOSS, or anything like that. So if this happens in the future, hopefully they will repair that kind of break, when they debrief what went wrong with all of this. But in the future, be aware that that could be a possibility. So if they do book you a hotel room, be sure to get the name of it, because you're not going to be able to see it in any systems.
And also, I know that Miami local management put together their own list of failures that they encountered. To send that up their management chain to Darlene Meter. She's the director of operations, the managing director of operations, and up through Bobby and over to the IOC. But I also think it's important, and I forget sometimes, flight service and the IOC are two separate entities. So while Bobby Wells is our VP, she has no say on what happens over in the IOC. She can go over there and she can say, hey guys, we need to do this, but she's not their boss. They don't report to her, they don't have to listen to her. So there's that disconnect of two entities, three, because you got the pilots, right? So we have three entities all trying to mesh together to get crews out of a bad situation. And obviously the line between is the problem. So they have to figure out how to drop their walls and be able to seamlessly work together. We have the same problem. We have the same problem in APFA sometimes. Sometimes the base, another base, we're so in our own bubble that sometimes we forget there's 9 other bases out there probably going through the same thing. So we're working to drop those walls to make sure that APFA as a whole can work seamlessly together, especially during these situations. To say, we took calls from Dallas crews, DC crews, Charlotte crews, and New York. And it doesn't matter where they're based. If they need help, we're here to help. So making sure we're meshed together and we're one entity working for that goal is also something I'm working on the board and that we all work on as representatives. So if you want to get involved, we always need help, because there's a lot of flight attendants and not a lot of us. Next
Okay,
slide.
another question.
Oh, sorry.
We have, do we have the options to host a no confidence vote in management, like pilots?
So the APFA today issued, I believe it's at 9 a.m. Central, the time could be off, it could have been 10 a.m. Central. Sorry, 8 Eastern, the APFA Board of Directors issued a unanimous no confidence vote, and that was sent to the American Airlines Group Chairman. That's his name, because I forgot to say that APFA no longer believes that Robert Isom is the leader that American Airlines needs, and that the board should step in and remove him as the CEO. That was issued today at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Does a press release went out? In addition to the hotline, the direct letter.
Yeah. So APFA has taken the step to issue a no confidence vote against Robert Isom.
Does the
The pilots
APA
have not.
have any,
The pilots have not. They came out that they were considering it at their meeting last week in Dallas. But at this time, they have not, they put out a strongly worded email. But they have not, that I have seen, gone so far as to issue a no confidence vote. Any more questions, Todd, on that?
Let me see. It doesn't look like it.
Okay.
I
Oh.
will pass on to the next slide then and.
So important about March, this is just a little generic, this isn't about the storm. March, remember, 2nd to March 31st, March 1st is the end of February. Daylight savings time and a schedule change occurs on March 8th. I believe it's a large schedule change. And so just remember, and of course, the worst day of the year where everybody loses an hour of sleep, which is absolutely criminal offense in my opinion. I think that's absolutely terrible. Nobody should lose sleep. Next slide. So Brady for a long time and me for almost a year now, you know, you get an email on the 3rd of every month and it's the allocations brief, right? Tells you most of where we're flying, how many hours there are, aircraft. And then by the time you couldn't read anymore, you got to the bottom and there was 20 more things that we were discussing. I could barely get through it myself, so we've made the decision to now split that. So on the 3rd of every month, you're just gonna get the allocations information. So it's just gonna be everything about the next month flying. And then somewhere in the last half of the month, I'm gonna try between the 15th and the 20th to put out another base brief that has hot topics. So that way I don't bore everybody on one time, I can bore you 2 times. And then obviously if something comes up during the month, we put out more in case we need to cover something. I think in 1 week I put out 3 about the storm just because I couldn't sit at I was sitting at my computer and the anger had to come out somewhere, so it came out in base briefs. Next slide. And if you have something that you want covered, please let us know. We're always open to suggestions because after a while, the brain only thinks about so many things. So if you guys think, hey, flight attendants are talking a lot about this, just send it to us and say, can you cover it? Not a problem. Contract sections, questions about ECS, anything you guys can come up with. This is the fun one. We actually have, I think, somewhere almost 200 feedback in forms. The bid sheet's abysmal. We know that. It just gets worse every month. Turns are gone. Rockets are gone a lot. We have super long layovers on IPD. We have 4, 3, 4 trips, bad layovers, short layovers. We have
most of the trips in PGF for trade are red eyes.
a lot of red eyes, right? Because we do a lot of West Coast flying. Alba and I sit through a meeting every month on the 3rd where the company comes on and rah, thank you so much. You guys are doing so great. And here's your crappy bid sheet for the month, for the next month. And they go, but we want your feedback. So we give them feedback. I have a list every month. Normally it's the same list because nothing ever changes. And they come back and say, hey, we'll look at it. No problem. We'll take a look at that. Next month rolls around. Oh, we'll look at it. Don't worry, right? It's the same thing. The more feedback we get, the more we can tweak and kind of give them very specific things we want. Obviously, rockets are always a hot topic, right? Everyone, the South America crew wants those rockets. They can have them. That's too much working at night for me. You know, turns. We have the people who love turns. early turns, late turns, long turns, short turns, double turns. I didn't know there's that many types of turns, so you start looking at the bid sheet. And I'm gonna make an announcement today that I'm not sure people thought I was gonna make. Alba and I have had the discussion, and we're actually gonna form a bid sheet committee. And we're gonna get a group of 3 or 4 flight attendants together, different seniorities that fly different things, and we're gonna have them peruse every month the bid sheet. Take the feedback from the flight attendants, take what they see in there, and create comprehensive plans to get to try to force the company to make these changes. Because obviously me just telling them this is what I want isn't enough, right? We gotta have a comprehensive plan, written email form to say, this is what Miami flight attendants want, this is how we accomplish it, and this is what's gonna make us happy. Obviously, if you make trips better, trips that people want to fly, what's gonna happen? People are gonna fly more. If people look at the bid sheet and you go, 4 trips on this bid sheet I'll fly, what are they gonna fly? 4 trips, unless they get red flagged. So we're trying, it's a harebrained idea I came up with one morning to say, how can we get a team to focus strictly on me? I would love to. I'd love to focus on the bid sheet, but unfortunately the performance managers and the attendance managers keep us busy with 100 to 120 meetings a month. So I gotta have some team that can focus on the bid sheet. And John Radker here has agreed. I'm not sure he should have, but he agreed to help us out on the bid sheet committee. We have Barb Luke. She's a Orlando satellite, but also flies Miami. She's agreed. She's gonna look up the last name. It's Clayton. Can't think of his last name. He's a newer hire. He's agreed. And I've got one more phone call to make. Hope to have that official announcement out in the next couple of weeks. But please give us your feedback. We are listening. We are trying. I actually talked to Randy Troutman about the bid sheet once every couple of months. And he goes, good luck. You know, they didn't listen to him either. So it's all falling on deaf ears, but I think if I can get a team that can put a comprehensive plan together, how to accomplish it, maybe it's more eye-opening than just saying, this is what I want. This is not what I want, this is how I want it. This is how we can do it, and this is how we'll be successful. So please, your feedback is very important to us. Next slide. If you don't follow us on Instagram, Alba is our official Instagrammer. Everything that we put out in a hotline, she tries to put into an Instagram post. That way, and some things that don't go out, she puts there anyway, because she's a lot better at that stuff than I am. Social media, what's that? But it's a good way to follow along just quickly what's going on. We also have the Facebook page. If you're not a member, I'm sure most everybody here is a member of the Facebook page, where we try to put out the same information. Next slide. This is a really important one. We're seeing a large increase in flight attendants, reporting flight attendants to management. Obviously, there are some things that you need to, right? If they're safety sensitive, obviously you have to do what's right for you and the passengers and safety of an aircraft, right? But if it's just there may be just a conflict there, you just don't get along with somebody, writing up to management is not really the way to go. What happens is they will investigate. They have to investigate every claim that's made to them. And most of the time that leads to discipline for more than one person. So if we can keep it out of the office, if it doesn't need to be there, that's fantastic. Our professional standards team, they work really hard on conflict resolution, peer-to-peer conflict resolution. And since they are flight attendants, they have that understanding of how can we get from here to here and make it meet in the middle, right? So they work really hard. So please reach out to them. Maybe that'll reduce some of our work that we have.
And better yet, if you can work it out yourselves on the plane, we're all adults, right? We're well paid to be.
But we also know some people don't like to confrontation, right?
We're seeing. Right, my last sleep. Sorry.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of
I won't in his gun.
We're seeing a lot of petty, crew on crew. My legs. sorry, going into the office, and that results in a big investigation. And then sometimes you're pulling in other crew members as witnesses, it's an inconvenience to everyone. And it usually also turns the focus back on the person who's doing the reporting as well. So just keep that in mind. Some things have to be reported, but things that can work out, you don't like the style that somebody sets up a card, or this or that, or this one's not doing a second service, and that kind of, really can't work it out. All professional standards, if it's something that's recurring, usually they may know the person already, they've had other calls. Sometimes professional standards works great. Other times, person might pick up the phone and say, you know what, F you, don't ever call my house again. So, but it's a courtesy that we try to keep things out of the office. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we do ask that.
When you have, for example, a 777 crew, let's say there's 2 flight attendants on a crew of 10 that have an issue, guess what? All 10 flight attendants are gonna get called and say, hey, did you see this? Did you witness it? That's what management does. They don't just call the 2 flight attendants, they call all 10. And sometimes they go to the pilots and say, hey, did you know this was happening? So if we can resolve it outside of that, that is really helpful. And we know people have bad days, right? Some people have bad days. And the good thing is our professional standards reps are also our EAP reps. Sometimes we find that when people have these issues, they also have other concerns and other issues going on in life. This life is lifing that they need help with. And that's a perfect way for them to say, hey, they can transition into not just peer-to-peer conflict resolution, but what's going on? Do you need help with something? People are struggling with rent, mortgage, food, electricity bills. EAP can help with all of those things. So sometimes that's what people need, right? Just that little conversation. That's not with a manager, because a manager is not going to help people do that. A manager is there to discipline you. They're not there to help you with life. They're there to make sure that you're following their policies and procedures. So if you guys want to take this number, pass it around. If you see something going on, say, hey, call this number, not your manager. It's just
One more thing before, if you're on a 3-day trip, please don't let it keep escalating. You can call this number on day 1 if the issue's already happening from day 1, and they can try to de-escalate it so it doesn't keep escalating up until the third day, the 4th day, or when you get home. So please use that as soon as something starts happening. That way the de-escalation can happen as soon as possible.
And EAP and professional standards are available 24 hours a day. Give them a call. Also, a really good tool people don't use is the company's EAP. Through Aetna, it is now. There are trained people. If you can call them as many times as you'd like. They'll talk to you every day, all day, that are trained in mental health, right? And if anything's going on with you or any person that lives in your household, they don't have to be your family, they will talk to any of them. So just take advantage of all that we have. We understand the way the world is, the way life is. Things are happening every day, and some people just need somebody to talk to. Alba, Tim, John, myself, we're all here. I'm not a trained professional in anything other than causing chaos, but I'm a listener. So if you need to talk, you just call me and we'll talk. But if you want to talk to somebody that's professionally trained, you can also contact the company CAP, and they have a wide variety of things they can help you with. So please reach out. Don't feel like you're alone. You're never alone. We're here. EAP's there. The company's there. We're all here to help everyone. And on the next slide, I think that's the last slide. Any questions, comments, concerns? You want to throw something at me?
I have something to mention. I'm a San Juan commuter.
Mhm.
And during all this storm stuff going on, there was a bunch of us trying to get to work, but delays and all the cancellation stuff. Over there, for instance, there was a flight from the night before. They had an aircraft there, the crew, and they were missing a crew. We contact scheduling and let them know, hey, we got like 7 or 8 commuters in uniform, willing and able to work this flight to get it out, because it's been delayed already. And they were like, no, we're gonna send a deadheading crew there. And we're like, really? You already have a crew here? But you wanna deal getting those people in there and then accommodate those crew members with the, whatever sequence they're, to work on. Eventually that flight, one of them canceled again, and the other one left at 10 o'clock in the night, and we were talking about 6 o'clock in the morning.
We had a lot of situations like that, and the company has the discretion to do what they want in that situation. There's nothing contractual that says they have to do it. Common sense tells you,
Yeah, but
common sense, but you also take into account the legalities of those crew members, right? If they're coming to work, are they then gonna be legal to work their sequence, right? So they look at a lot. Sometimes in that situation, they probably just said no. Didn't even look at the thing, just said no. And that's one of the failures that we can take back to the company and say, if you've got 8 crew members, guarantee you we can find 4 of the 8.
they're not gonna make
That would be
it
legal.
wherever they're gonna go.
Right. And as a San Juan commuter, just to let you know, over the last week, we have finally resolved, I don't know if you ever tried to use Spirit and the new tool. We have finally resolved where you can now book on the tool and it works for flight attendants.
Last time I heard it, we were, just go to the gate. Is it already, you can do it now?
You can now do it on the tool through the ID90.
Okay.
So we got that fixed. I think Thursday or Friday was the final, and somebody tried it out and said it worked. So you can now list. So we finally got that accomplished. After they said it's been working, they said it's been working for months.
To answer your question, they do have the ability
Yeah,
to use a commuter. And they do it,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It
yeah.
happens.
I
Why?
feel the guy's been going there
It happens.
at
So,
the counter.
can I say one more thing about IROPS though, because we talk a lot about, what are we gonna do to hold the company accountable and, part of holding them accountable is the financial aspect, right? The contractual language, these claims that, some of this is new language that we fought for, negotiations like hotel delay incentive, right? New BE language, through schedule error language applying much more than it did. So unfortunately, it's a lot of work to file these reports, and we know that. IROPS, they're gonna keep happening, right? Been in here long enough to know we're gonna have storms, we're gonna have IROPS. I wish we could make the company run the company better, right? Fortunately, we can't contractualize that. We can't force the company to be better at what they do. They're gonna be what they are. But one of the ways we can hold them accountable is through gathering this data, filing reports, holding them financially accountable, which means we all have to file every single thing that we're due. The problem is flight attendants know what happened to them, right? Not all of it is reflected in those HI3s. So that's why we need that data, right? We need to know in those IROPS forms what actually happened to you. And then you also have to make sure your schedule is correct and reflective of what you did, right? If you had a layover, if you didn't have a layover, if you're on duty for 30 hours, it needs to be reflected. That way, that's one way we hold them accountable, in addition to what they're doing as the board, publicly shaming them, asking for the CEO to step down, all that other stuff. So,
One last thing,
Uh-huh.
from another disruption, I was affected, when they did the Venezuela airspace closed. I was one of the ones that didn't get to work because everything was closed, and
right.
I lost time because of that. Is there anything?
So the company has agreed to allow you, if you'd like, and you have, to use sick, vacation time left in this year to cover that. So if you have vacation day in March, basically, they would let you use that. But they were not willing to sign a new letter of agreement that pay protected any of those sequences. They're willing to remove missed trips, or late reports, right, any of those, and allows, vacation, unused vacation from this year to pay for that. We did, have quite extensive conversations with them about that, because obviously there was quite a number, especially San Juan commuters, right? There was probably a lot of you. We talked to quite a few. It was outside your control. None of us knew that the government and the FAA was going to close, most of the Caribbean airspace for all day. So, that was the outcome that the company, said they would agree to, right? Removal of the missed trips and pay with vacation. Got any questions come in online?
No, we haven't had any new ones, so I think we're settled there.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Just remember, we have a general base meeting on March 10th. That's a Tuesday, 11 to 1, same time, same place. You'll probably see the same faces here. Hopefully we'll see you guys. If you guys in the room have questions about your sequences, that happened during the IROPS, we'll be here if you want to go over and say, hey, what should I file? I want to thank everybody online for joining us. If you have questions, please send them to us. You can reach out to us at mia@apfa.org or call or text us at 954-890-2732. And we're always available if you guys have questions. But thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.